All right, let's do this.
Whew, some massive shit went down this week, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about Xtimus rant.
Oh shit, here we go. Toby, you always got the best
A couple of
quality.
days ago, Xtimus was streaming for like an hour and then 10 minutes, and the stream was called The Whole Truth About Mr. Llama SC, Dabrowski, and E.G. Waters. And yes, he did make a spelling mistake in Dabrowski. He called him Dabrowski. When I initially
How you
saw
do that?
video,
That's funny.
every morning, that's one of the
You just got to copy and
routine
paste.
things I do in the morning. I turn on YouTube naturally. Found this video, and I was like, holy shit, this is going to make for some quality content. I mean, who doesn't like to pick an easy target and then, just kick a person when he's down? I'm not a very nice person, in case that wasn't clear from my other videos.
That's funny.
I really am not. Basically, I got excited about it. I spent the entire day planning how I would make this video. I get back home, I spent like 3-4 hours reacting to the entire stream, like the full 1-hour stream. I finish reacting, it's like 12 a.m. I go to sleep, I wake up, and I'm like, shit, I feel sorry for that guy. I cannot do this to him. So I scratch all of that. I'm having massive conflicting feelings, like even now, because I still decided to make this video, but I'm having massive conflicting feelings about it. I'm not sure if I should be making it. A lot of people told me not to. I do expect a certain backlash. So if you guys, feel free to call me out on this if you feel like this was undeserved, uncalled for, if I'm being biased or dishonest or whatever. Feel free to call me out. I just feel like,
shit.
I'm the type of guy
who's
true to himself to the fucking bone.
That's awesome.
That's why
we like you.
Always stay honest, even if it hurts my bottom line. So in order for me to stay honest to myself, I just want to make this video.
All right.
Regardless of the consequences. Plus, I feel like this is the type of mistake that I'm bound to make sooner or later, so I might as well make it sooner while the consequences aren't that huge.
All right.
But the reason why I want to stay true to myself is, there's a saying in my country, let the idiot have his way.
What?
With which I fundamentally disagree. I think this is the type of approach that has led, a quick example would be the elections, the previous presidential elections in states where you had to pick between Hillary and Trump. And I think most of us can agree that neither of those choices were.
As much as I can or cannot agree, I gotta say, I don't know shit about Latvia. So I'll just take your word for it. I'm assuming that their system's better.
Really the best ones.
Aw.
And when you're having the idiots have his way, a lot of bullshit happens. Sometimes you just realize that, holy shit, this is too late to change. Like, it's already been done. Who the fuck allowed them to make this sort of a mess? Whether it's in my room, whether it's my country, it's kind of irrelevant. So I feel like I have to respond to Xtimus video just because I know Mr. Llama probably won't even bother with response. Dabrowski's too nice of a guy to respond to this. DG Waters, I don't know, he doesn't give a shit about D2 these days, so he might just ignore it. So that doesn't leave too many persons on the table. So here I am taking the hero stance and fighting for the public good.
There goes my hero.
With that said, there's a couple of disclosures I have to make just to be crystal clear on a couple of points. And, I fucking swear, if you reply to this video without listening to these disclosures, I'm just gonna flat out ignore you.
I can do that right now.
It's like 5 key things for people not to imply stuff that I actually didn't mean. So
Okay.
First of all, I have nothing against Xtimus as a person. In fact, I think he should be seeking help right now, whether it's, professional or just talking with a friend. I don't know. It's out of my league. I'm not competent in this area, but it certainly seems from the side that the shit he's going through it's kind of out of, it's more than a normal person can take on himself alone. What I don't like about Xtimus is some of his content. I think it's either unimaginative or flat out clickbaity. With that said, I do have to say that pretty much all of the content out there in terms of Diablo 2 content is something I don't enjoy. Okay. And it should be pretty clear if you've seen any of my videos. I'm just taking it a completely different direction because that's the content I enjoy. That doesn't mean I think that the content other Diablo 2 creators are making is garbage or my content's quality is better. Unique content does not equal great content. Let's not mix up these two. First of all, I'm speaking for myself only. Like, people have even asked me not to make this video, so I'm making it crystal clear. I'm speaking for myself only. Probably the last thing is that I do like Mr. Lama, Dobrunsky, and DG Waters. I think they're cool guys. Ooh. All of them have helped me out in the past in some way. I tried my best to repay them. Having in mind how small of a YouTube channel I have, probably they've helped me more than I did them. Because of that, I suppose you could call me affiliated with them. So if you notice that I'm biased in this video towards them, feel free to call me out on that. Okay. Oh, and last thing, I did make a lot of cuts in this videos. All of them were for clarification purposes only. I did not take, at least I'm 100% convinced that I did not make a single cut that would take Xtimus words out of context. Once again, if you feel like I messed up somewhere, feel free to call me out on that. With that said, let's jump into the video and see what Xtimus has to say.
I don't want to talk about it. I really don't, dude, I really don't want to talk about this. But we're going to talk about it. And I need to talk about it for me. Not only for me, we need to talk about this for you guys.
This is kind of one of the reasons why I didn't want to make this video. Okay. Because why? It feels like Xtimus is having, just like me, massively conflicting feelings about whether he should make this.
Get the fuck out of your feels, man.
It's easy to call something like this as a PR stunt.
Ooh, he called him a PR stunt.
The hype or anticipation or whatever. But we're talking about, you know, a random kid from a random neighborhood streaming to,
he called him a child,
of unknown people. You know, it's scary to a certain extent, so lying to that audience, I think it's pretty fucking hard. So I'm willing to take his word for it.
Okay. So there will be a Google Drive, so you guys can download all the little private messages and all the stuff like that, all the videos of all the so-called proof or whatever.
Yeah, the proof or whatever wasn't very conclusive. Okay. I checked all of those files, and I will feature them somewhere on the screen when the relevant topic is up. Awesome. But most of them were extremely inconclusive.
Okay. I feel so bad about the way I've been treated in this community. It's just horrible. And people can say what they want. They can say, "Oh, well, you know, suck it up, Xtimus. You know, you're insecure." And I've had my, real life name leaked, private photos of me and my mom leaked in front of my house. People telling me to kill myself. Just crazy, crazy stuff, man.
Now, the stuff that he's referring to wasn't actually done by any of those Diablo 2 YouTubers. It was done by a completely separate person who was probably a pretty hardcore fanatic. So that stuff has barely anything to do with this entire video. Apart from the hate that he's receiving, it's something that you know when you're going to YouTube. Like, I won't lie, I have to, agree with Xtimus. It fucking sucks that you're receiving hate for something that you really didn't deserve. I mean, I'm used to it. Like, at the start of the video, I mentioned that unique content doesn't equal great content, and I'm like the perfect example for it. Among all Diablo 2 content creators, I'm the most unique one. Feel free to call me entitled or whatever, but I 100% believe so. That doesn't mean that my content is the best one. So naturally, a lot of the times, my uniqueness is, some sort of random shit that people don't simply enjoy.
Oh, I enjoy it.
And because of that, I do get a lot of hate. Now, that is easy for me to speak about because I seem to have a very thick skin for that kind of matters, unlike Xtimus. But my point is, to a certain extent, you knew what you were getting into. You know, YouTube, by definition, is a place where you open up yourself publicly for people to anonymously, without any repercussions
God damn it.
or consequences, whichever word is the right one, to bash you to oblivion. So you should be prepared for a certain backlash. You should have a thick skin. With that said, what that fanatic did is, it's just one example out of hundreds of thousands of people that watched you, and it barely has anything to do with this video.
But it's not just that. As a community and as a representation of Diablo 2, I've done everything, man. I've done everything in my heart and in my power to make this like a positive community and like represent Diablo 2, and you know, all the streamers to get along, and all this fantasy crap that's just unrealistic. It's realistic in other games, but not in our game, not in our community.
What?
Our community is so toxic, man. It's just insane.
First of all, I promised to myself I'd do this video sober, but goddamn, this is like my third beer already, and I barely have even started. Second of all,
That's funny.
Second of all, Diablo 2 community is just like any other. It's just, you know, a small game by this point. Third of all, and this notion of I did so much for this community will reappear.
I am so proud of this community.
Video probably at least a couple of times. I deleted most of them because he mentioned this probably like 10, 15 times, I don't know, throughout his entire stream. And the problem I have with him saying I did so much for this community is it feels very self-entitled kind of stuff. You know, in a nutshell, nobody really asked you to make this community.
Deal.
And do not imply anything else than I am saying, please. Nobody asked you to do this community. You decided to do it of your own free will. So you basically took a gamble that people will enjoy what you create, and it turns out you were correct. Yeah, people enjoyed it. With that said, that does not make you feel self-entitled. It's like, you know, a streamer trying to stream, and you know, all streamers are asking for money, myself included. I'm doing it very openly. Some are doing it in a more subtle way, but you're always asking it, you know, it would be nice if you could donate in that type of tone. Now, if you say, you know, guys, if you do not donate any money to me today, I'm not going to make any content anymore.
Damn.
Nobody would donate anything to you because that would be self-entitled. You know, it's people choosing of their own free will to help you out because they appreciate it. That's how building a community, in my eyes, should work. So this is, I think, my very personal opinion. Feel free to disagree with it, but I just sense that there's so much entitledness that it doesn't make sense. You know, you're saying that you did such a great thing for community, like completely selflessly, and then you're saying you're self-entitled. So was it selflessly or was it not? Which one?
And this is one of the biggest mistakes I made being a YouTuber. Just being a businessman, don't ever tell people your ideas. I never tell people my ideas or my build ideas.
He's drinking the beer. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Alright, what I miss? So this fool is drinking. I'm drinking.
Or anything like that, because then they just go and steal it.
This is one of the worst advice you can take away from his entire stream or video. I agree with it, but I just sense that there's so much entitledness that it doesn't make sense. You know, you're saying that you did such a great thing for community, like completely selflessly, and then you're saying you're self-entitled. So was it selflessly or was it not? Which one?
And this is one of the biggest mistakes I made being a YouTuber. Just being a businessman, don't ever tell people your ideas. I never tell people my ideas or my build ideas or anything like that, because then they just go and steal it.
This is one of the worst advice you can take away from his entire stream or video.
This is one of the worst advice.
Not telling people ideas is
shit.
A horrible idea.
That is fucking hilarious.
It's pretty much never about the idea. It's always about the execution. Everyone has fantastic, terrific ideas. Very few people execute on them, and even fewer people execute on them really well. Like, do you think, like, let's take Facebook, on which we're spending an enormous amount of time every single day. Maybe not you, maybe you spend it on YouTube, maybe on Instagram. Let's take any social media then. Was Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube the first ones? They were not. You had social media networks, you know, you had local ones. I know one in my country. You had something like MySpace, which is was kind of a social network. It was not about the idea. It all was about the execution, how you twist this idea, how you execute, whether you find these business partners. So just keeping the idea to yourself means, you will not, most likely you will not see the drawbacks of your idea, the problems of your idea. Nobody will tell you, you know, maybe you should try this angle or this angle. You're just closing in yourself and tunnel visioning something. So not talking about ideas is fucking bullshit. You should be talking about your ideas so you get proper feedback and then execute properly on them. And I will get back to, you know, people stealing builds. Well, actually, let's just talk about it right now. He said, you know, he said as a businessman, so we've already talked about it, but he said, I don't tell people my builds. And this is another bullshit, and you can easily back this up with data. You know, take my channel, for example. I have a number of builds, which in topics, they're the same thing as many other Diablo 2 YouTubers did. The difference is massive in views though. And a lot of it, sure, a lot of it has with the lack of exposure my channel is getting just because it's a small channel, but also a lot of it has to do with simply them executing better on the same idea. You know, if tomorrow both me and Dobrensky did a guide on Hammerden, you know, Paladin Hammerden, how to play, I can bet easily like $100. Well, 50 because I don't have 100. My work hasn't paid me in like 3 months.
What?
But anyway, I can bet like $50 that his video.
Hold on. Your work hasn't paid you in 3 months? Why do you keep going? Get your ass paid. Come on now. Okay.
You know, 3 times more views than mine would. And that's probably because his execution was better.
So I did a video, it's called Let's Talk About Diablo 2. You can probably search it. It's called Let's Talk About Diablo 2. And in that video, I talked about creating a community for Diablo 2. And then right after I made that video, people in the comment section started saying, make Diablo 2 great again. It was like the highest comment. So basically, this whole make Diablo 2 great again movement came from people that watched me. You know, because people were saying that to me. I didn't think to use that as a name. And then, so I'm like, dude, obviously I'm going to make this community called Make Diablo 2 Great Again. Not even, it was like a week later. Llama came out of nowhere and he put out a video and he said he's making a community called Make Diablo 2 Great Again. And I'm like, this is coming from the dude that's a speedrunner. You know, at the time I would watch his stream and then he would say things like, oh, you know, I don't play on Battle.net, I don't play multiplayer, I just do speed runs. So then he's like, oh, I'm going to make a community called Make Diablo 2 Great Again. And I'm just like, are you serious? So then, like, I called him out on it.
Right, so there's three problems with this. First is, what defines a Diablo 2 player? Just because Mr. Llama prefers speedrunning to any other type of Diablo playing, does that make him lesser of a Diablo 2 fan, Diablo 2 player than you? It doesn't. I mean, at this point, we're talking about an 18-year-old game, which is, let's be honest, it's very limited in what you can do in that game. So people at this point, they love this game so much, it's really mind-blowing that they thought of different ways how they could play this game. Some of them are speedrunning, some of them are collecting holy grails, some of them are doing Players 8 challenges, some of them are still playing on Battle.net. I mean, everyone is enjoying it
He said
in a
botnet.
different way. So there's no
it.
superiority over here just because you're playing Battle.net and you can
Hilarious.
shit on, I don't know, speedrunners or single-player holy grails. That doesn't make sense. Second of all, you called him out, and this really ties to the third problem, which is you feel, again, entitled about something that isn't yours, and you actually say it yourself. It wasn't you who thought of this idea, it was somebody else. And, you know, just somebody just took this idea and, you know, executed on it. The idea was in front of both you and Mr. Llama. Why you didn't execute on it? What were you waiting for? Part of the execution is, of course, the timing. The ideas are just floating around. There's a lot of ideas. Everyone has good ideas. You just need to fucking try and execute on them. If it doesn't work, you know, try a different idea.
Yo, shout out
But
to Tobe
if you don't
for some
even try
wisdom,
and
yo.
somebody else takes it, what was in front of you both, you had, you know, it's I do not believe in the equal outcome. I believe in the equal opportunities.
Damn.
You both had equal opportunities. You had both different outcomes. So calling out someone on something that you didn't take advantage of, I think that's hypocritical. I think that's bullshit. That's uncalled for.
A few other people, Indirect was there. So Indirect, you know, made a video about me, calling me a cheater and all that stuff. That's a whole nother story of just certain things people don't understand, things he didn't understand. You know, calling me a cheater for not saying, you know, I used D2JSP, and that's a whole nother story.
I feel safer with a hat. Anyway, so at this point, Xtimus starts talking about the Iron Man stream he did with Mr. Llama and a bunch of other streamers, and there was this indirect guy who was calling him a cheater. I think he even made a video about Xtimus cheating, being called with etal. I think that's how it's called, the software. Now, I will admit, there's like two things I want to mention about this topic about Xtimus cheating, and I will forget it throughout the entire video. One is Xtimus later on in the video said that he was only using etal for muling, as if at that point muling was impossible in any other ways, or at least inconvenient, so that's why he was using that software. Second of all, I've never tried botting myself, so I pretty much have no idea about it.
Oh, you haven't lived until
so
you bought it in
it's
D2.
pretty much
Come
out of
on
my
now.
league to comment on. As for D2JSP, I think both Xtimus admitted to using that, as well as there's a bunch of videos by, who was it? Heroes of Tristram guild leader David. That nigga David. So
He said it.
pretty sure he has a couple of videos about
That's awesome.
Xtimus using D2JSP.
So the first thing that really upset me is Mr. Llama was like, he's like, you know what, Xtimus? He's like, what do you even do for this community? And right after he said that, like, everyone laughed, like Allura Shade and DJ, and dude, it wasn't a joke. Like he might say he was joking,
wasn't a
but
joke.
the other people, they were laughing at me. They weren't laughing with me, dude.
One huge problem with this clip is Xtimus said, he quoted Mr. Llama, and Mr. Llama supposedly said, Xtimus, what do you even do for this community? What Mr. Llama actually said, and I rewatched the timestamp that Xtimus himself provided. Mr. Llama said, what do you do? What do you even do in this community?
Did you even read the rules, Xtimus? Where you been, man? Killing me, bro.
I don't play Iron Mans, dude.
It's like, what do you even do? What do you even do in this community anymore?
And this was right after Xtimus asked a supposedly dumb question about Iron Man streams or Iron Man competitions. Supposedly dumb because for a person like me who had, I don't even know what Iron Man means, it wasn't dumb at all. So this was when Mr. Lama said,
people have
what do
different
you even do
definitions
in this
for Iron Man.
community?
Oh,
think
fuck!
Xtimus simply
God damn it.
misunderstood here. He did say that, you know, people laughed at him, and that's correct, but it's, you know, a subtle joke, so it can easily go either way.
And you know, I have auditory processing disorder. So like when people say things to me, they go to my brain slower than other people. So when you're trying to explain something to me, I'm not fully going to understand it.
And this is the reason, this is one of the main reasons why I didn't want to make this video, because
Auditory
honestly,
processing
Xtimus
disorder?
is an easy target. He seems to be pretty self-insecure. He seems to really take it to the heart. You know, people can bash me all day and night. I'm not even going to budge. I don't give a shit. Like I honestly don't give a shit about so many things. But you say you call Xtimus a moron, and he's probably taking it to the heart. Yeah, I'm not a nice person. I should not be doing this video, but I simply cannot just stand by.
So what happened was I was using a prayer aura, right? I didn't know you weren't supposed to use a prayer aura, so they saw me using it, so then I respect my character. And there was a glitch to where I respect my character at Akara with the aura on, so even though the aura wasn't active anymore, it still showed up on the screen, so it was a glitch.
What?
Right, so we did the Iron Man, and the Laura Shade is calling me a cheater.
Is that a
and then
thing?
Mr. Lama was saying a bunch of stuff. He's all like, oh, you know, we should all gang up on Xtimus and kill him because he's using the prayer aura. He's cheating.
Right, so first of all, Mr. Lama calling, you know, everyone to gang up on Xtimus. 20 seconds later, Mr. Lama called for everyone ganging up on, I think, DG Waters, just because DG Waters was in a corner and, you know, everyone had a very good position to just kill him.
I see the prayer!
Right? Turn the prayer off.
No prayer!
Turn the prayer
Get
off.
him!
I think we all just have to gang up on Xtimus for prayering. Alright, here we go. We've got Bo Pally cornered. Let's go. DJ, join with me. Oh my gosh.
So I think that was meant as a joke, and Xtimus is reading too much into it. As far as the prayer aura stuff, yes, it was visible. It was a glitch. The problem I'm having with this is, you know, if somebody tells you, hey, dude, you're using prayer aura, and you say, no, I'm not, I just respec, I don't even have that skill. And they say, well, I can still see it. And he says, what the fuck? How is that possible? I don't have that skill. Maybe it's gonna send a screenshot or something. You know, people figure this. It's such a stupid little thing that people should be able to figure it out. I'm not sure whose fault it was, but it's such a minor detail. It definitely doesn't deserve.
Toby, you really spent your time on this. This is great. Thank you so much.
It's such a minor detail that two people who don't have problems of communicating with each other, they just should figure it out like this. And yet we have such a massive problem about it. This is just bullshit. And
this is just bullshit.
It does sort of, once again, prove the point that Xtimus is really the reason for causing a lot of the drama. Just, I don't know whether it's natural to him or he enjoys it, but it does feel that way. It does seem that way.
And then I messaged him later on after the stream, and I told him, I was like, hey man, you know, I'm really sorry. I wasn't using the prayer aura. It was glitched. He's like, I already knew it was a glitch.
Yeah, so Mr. Lama did admit that he knew it was a glitch, but once again, I feel like Xtimus misread or read too much into Mr. Lama's words. When he say, hey guys, let's gang up on Xtimus, he said the same thing about the other guy just because he was in the corner. When he said the cheater has died, it was a clear reference to someone else, you know, calling him a cheater. And it wasn't, you know, I watched that clip. Mr. Llama didn't pronounce it in a, mean kind of way. It was, a light joke.
I made some Diablo 2 inspired music about 2 years ago. A week later, what do you think Mr. Llama's doing? He's streaming himself on a freaking piano.
Now, this one is pretty much 100% accurate on Xtimus' part. Does it make Mr. Llama a thief? I don't think that's enough. No, just because he saw one streamer, even in the same niche, do piano stuff, why cannot I do piano stuff? That's not stealing. Is it slightly douchebaggy? I would say no. But with this one, it's my personal opinion. Feel free to disagree.
I talked to all of them. I've tried to reach out to them, and they don't want anything to do with me because they know I'll do something like this.
Yeah, so this was a bit of topic ramble, how he reacted to everyone, how he reached out to everyone trying to make things right. And, nobody, allegedly nobody responded just because they knew he would call them out on their bullshit. This allegedly part is pretty much based on nothing, just his personal opinion from what I gather. And then nobody responding properly, nobody wanting to associate with him. I've seen how Xtimus reaches out. I've seen how he jumps into Dobrinsky's stream and just starts accusing him of stealing his content or stuff that happened like 2 years ago. I've seen Xtimus jump into Dobrinsky's Discord and starting to bash people, or again, why this community is hating me so much, etc., etc. I think that's the reason why people don't want to associate with you, because you're being disrespectful, you're doing stuff that's uncalled for, and you're just creating drama where nobody needs any drama.
I uploaded a Javelin Amazon video, right? Got 100,000 views. A week later, what does Llama do? He uploads a Javelin Amazon video.
Now, this one is actually 100% accurate as well. I checked basically the timestamps. I found Mr. Llama's video when he made that Javazon video. It was, as Xtimus said, like within a week or something. And the thing is, first thought is, who cares? I mean, Mr. Llama is a Diablo 2 content creator. The problem is, if you scroll down in his, timeline of what kind of videos he's creating, he wasn't creating any guide videos. Literally, most likely the reason why he started creating guide videos, he did stop soon after, but it probably was Xtimus video. Was that a douchebag move on Mr. Llama's part? I think absolutely. He tried to get on, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, on Xtimus clout.
Clout.
But does this deserve really a video? I mean, it's a Diablo 2 guide. Everyone is making guides on any video. I don't think it deserves a video.
I've taken a lot of heat for doing certain things in the Diablo 2 community and the certain types of ways that I make my content that has caused a lot of controversy, such as using Hero Editor or, using the open BattleNet server to just get all my gear and then just test out builds and test out possibilities in the game.
Yeah, so the thing that he's referring to is, people calling him a cheater because he's using like these perfect items in his guide videos. I don't think that's the problem people are having. This one is heavily my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, but I think people don't mind you showing off guides and then builds with like perfect hero edited gear, as long as you fucking say it. You say, I hero edited this gear and I'm just doing that for the sake of showing this video. That's one thing. Another thing is, I remember the certain guide or build video or whatever Xtimus made that, it got me personally pissed off for a very small detail. And I kind of I'll admit I'm at fault for getting pissed off because there was nothing to get pissed off about. So basically, he was showing this in practice not really working, and yet extremely expensive build with all these high level rune words. And he was showing his inventory where he had a bunch of like perfect charms. And what he said was, and the inventory, you know, it's basic stuff. And I got pissed off because he said, you know, basic stuff while he was showing off perfect stuff. I'm at fault here. I mean, basic as in, you know, I simply misunderstood basic. I heard what I wanted to hear. I basically wanted to hear something that would piss me off. So I'm 100% at fault here. And I think a lot of people felt the same way, felt into this, you know, trap or whatever you want to call it. But with all that said, I will admit that I think Diablo 2 community is way too harsh on what you actually consider as playing legit. Maybe it's a natural evolution of, for you to actually continue playing an 18-year-old game, you really have to be a fanatic of a certain level. And just because we have so many fanatics in this community, maybe that's why this, you have to, if you want to be a legit player, you cannot cheat, you cannot cheat, you cannot use plugin, you cannot, I don't know, use Go Mule or whatever. You cannot use D2 GSP, you cannot use bots and all of that. I personally do not give shit about any of it. I mean, for all I care, you know, create a bot, create your items with Hero Editor, use bots, you use map hacks. I don't care. It's not going to make you less of a player in my eyes. I really don't care. But there are a lot of people, and I received the very same hate from those people just because for the sake of a joke, I hero edited a couple of items in, you know, a couple of videos. You know, in my next video, in my upcoming next video, I'll be using hero editor, and I do actually expect a certain backlash from the community just because I'm not playing it legit. I mean, people suspected that I fucked up my grief rune word for views. There's just too much suspicion going on. I don't know.
That shit was hilarious.
There's a big difference between streaming and being a YouTuber, right? Streamers, they just stream and they play the game. People that make YouTube content put work into their videos. It's like creating a movie for the game. You know, editing, doing intros and all that other stuff.
Oh boy. This one rubs me personally the very wrong way, because I know what video editing means. I know what adding effects and you know, transitions, all of that means. And I can tell you that Xtimus has no idea what a properly edited video, how long it actually takes. You know, when I started heavily editing videos, it would take me like 16 hours to make like a 4-minute video. That's stupid. It's not worth it. But you know, this part is personal. Let's leave that aside. What he's saying is that streaming doesn't require, you know, it's completely not the same. And while I do agree to a certain extent that creating YouTube videos takes more time, but streaming definitely takes a lot of time as well. Especially when you are a beginner, you need to set literally everything up. And just because someone, you know, let's take Mr. Lamb. I think that the reason why so many people watch him is because of his personality. Because if you take a look at his stream layout, I would honestly go as far as saying my personal stream layout is better.
Damn!
Most of it was done by
this
my
fool
friend.
was just talking shit. Great.
Only gave it a couple of touches. And I think it's better than Mr. Lam's. But simply put, his personality is a lot better. So Mr. Lamb is not a good example of how much effort you should actually be putting into your stream. It's not a good example. If you take me as an example, then it's a completely different story. I'm putting a lot of hours into figuring out how to change my stream layout, how to, figure out how to write a fucking HTML or whatever, the CSS code for different colors of the chat, different fonts of the chat, different sizes of the chat, different lines of the chat, alignment of the chat, etc., etc. How to change the effects to create notifications, all of that shit. That requires a lot of time. So I just feel sort of insulted that he's saying streaming doesn't require any time. It does. It requires a fucking lot. Not to mention that you need to prepare to the stream. For the stream, you need to plan ahead. You need to be able to tell your viewers, I'm streaming on Saturday, so you can't make any plans on Saturday. It's a different kind of, time commitment than YouTube video. So while I will agree that making YouTube videos takes more time, I think streaming takes more than enough.
I'm responsible for bringing Diablo 2 content to Diablo 2 and bringing it back and making it popular. There's only 2 YouTubers, true YouTubers, that make content, not stream, 2 YouTubers.
And this is, I think, the main point of this video, why people can't really not like him. He's creating drama about self-entitlement. I created this, I made this happen, now you have to appreciate me. If you're forcing people into appreciating you, it's just not going to happen.
Dude, people started seeing that I was making a significant amount of money and views off Diablo 2 content, so then they start doing it.
Yeah, so making a lot of money on YouTube, that's bullshit. Hopefully I will not be too lazy to not edit this video, and hopefully somewhere on the screen you can see my lifetime YouTube earnings. They're like $200. Nice. I earned another like 150 or 200, probably not 200. I think 150 bucks on Patreon. And then people were kind enough to donate me like 500 bucks through donations. So lifetime, which is close to a year of creating YouTube content, like at least one video a week and at least one stream a week, which ends up in total of around like 40-50 hours a month spending on YouTube. So for 40-50 hours a month for a full year, I earned less than 1,000 bucks. And I know for a fact my channel is one of the fastest growing channels on YouTube. I've been tracking this since April, percentage-wise.
What is going on here? He has a spreadsheet. Oh, look at this. Let's see, April 2nd, absolute growth, percentage growth. Percentage growth, he's at 95%, but what's the actual growth? 38. Meanwhile, Dabrowski's fucking leading the charge here. Absolute growth, Xtimus #1. Dabrowski. That is hilarious. This fool's for reals. This fool is for reals. Yo!
My channel has always been the fastest growing channel, with 1 month of an exception when Dabrowski outperformed me. But Dabrowski is a completely different topic. He's a fucking phenomena. The pace that at which he's growing, I mean, he's at like 16,000 subscribers right now. He's still growing at double digits. That's just mind-blowing. That's just absolutely mind-blowing.
So he wanted to collab. I didn't follow through on it. I was busy. And then he started going on. I found out about this years later. When I didn't collab with him, he told me to, suck a D, and that he's only subscribed to me so he can dislike my videos and all this stuff. Talking all this major crap about me. That's
hilarious.
The next day later, I messaged him and I said, hey dude, I'm really sorry I didn't get back to you on the collab. I was busy. And he's all, acting like we're all cool. Like, oh yeah, man, like it's all cool, it's all good.
I don't know, hard to comment on this one. If he is right, then yeah, DG was kind of a douchebag. I have no idea. With that said, a person got mad at you just because you didn't stick to your word. This is kind of understandable. Maybe not the extent that DG got mad at you, but this is kind of understandable.
He would come to me during like the early times of Dabrowski's channel, like telling me like, hey, Dabrowski's copying off you, and I'm like, yeah, man, he basically is. So he would go and talk crap about Dabrowski, and I would agree with him. And then, you know, after he falls out with me and after I call him out on this and after I find out about all the things he said, then you know what he does? So DJ can get his little clout and be the suck up guy, the Diablo 2 community. He goes and does a podcast with Dabrowski, dude.
You know, I'm a firm believer that changing your mind constantly is not a reflection of lack of loyalty or whatever. It's a sign of intelligence. That means you are capable of changing your mind whenever you're presented new facts that you were not aware of before. I think that's the sign of intelligence. I think, in fact, people are not changing their mind frequently enough. They're ignoring the facts when presented to them just because they have some sort of complicated beliefs or whatever. So let's break it down. So DJ notices some sort of a new guy on the block, you know, Dabrowski making content, and he feels like it's this very similar to Xtimus, and you know, him being such good friends with Xtimus, of course, he tells him that. That's understandable. I mean, if I saw somebody currently like making content very similar to Dabrowski, I would just go to Dabrowski, hey, look at this guy, he's making the content the same way you are. And
that'd be so funny.
I would probably laugh about it and say, hey, he's just copying you. And you know, the first thing you do when you notice somebody copying you, your friend, I think that the natural reaction is, you know, you laugh about it, you joke about it, call him a douchebag, an asshole, whatever.
Call him a douchebag and an asshole, whatever.
You first of all, you form some sort of an image of that person, and only then you actually give that person a chance to correct it. I think that's a problem a lot of us have, myself included. As hard as I try not to make assumptions about people without getting to know them, that's fucking hard. It's much easier to make assumptions on what you're seeing, and I think humans as species are programmed to make these assumptions because they make our living a lot easier. We make a lot of decisions subconsciously because just, you know, it helps with the brain overload or whatever. I'm too drunk to quote smart books. I don't fucking remember.
Oh shit!
My point is, so DJ saw somebody creating similar content. He told his buddy about it. And then after falling out with that buddy, you know, he actually decided to give it a shot and get to know Dabrowski. He got to know Dabrowski, and they suddenly, you know, he doesn't seem like such a bad guy after all. Like, in general, when you get to know a certain person, he turns out to be quite a likable guy. And you can be all depressive as much as you want and say most of the people are assholes and shit like that, but take a look at something like eBay. The whole business model of eBay is based on people being kind, sticking to their word. Essentially, the main idea behind eBay, you're sending people money for them to send you a product. What's prohibiting them from, you know, not sending the product? At this point,
reputation.
There's probably a lot of tools that eBay has at its disposal to, you know, reimburse the buyer, ban the seller, etc., etc. But at the very beginning, they barely had any leverage. They were the new kid on the block. So my point is, most of the people are nice, and as soon as you give them a shot, you will probably like them. So what DJ did, to me, it's 100% understandable. In fact, it's a sign of intelligence that, you know, he decided to change his opinion. He decided to give someone else a shot. Does it suck for Xtimus? Yeah, I get why he's annoyed. I mean, someone has been telling that, yeah, Xtimus, you are right. Somebody is copying you. It sucks. And then, oh, sorry, Xtimus, I actually like that guy. That sucks. But once again, opinions do change.
This guy, he started talking about drug use and things like that in my Discord, and then I banned him, and he did all this crazy shit. He leaked my government name, which is in this little downloadable folder. He leaked my government name. He got Facebook photos, personal Facebook photos of me and my fiance at the time. He got a picture of me and my mom in front of my house. He did all this crazy stuff, man. And Dabrowski decided to associate himself with that person.
Now, these are very serious allegations. I feel like someone from the side like me has a massive lack of evidence to support either side. Dabrowski has been saying completely opposite thing, like basically it was, you know, first Xtimus banned him, then Dabrowski associated with him, then that third guy started doing all that crazy shit, then Dabrowski disassociated with him as soon as he started doing that shit, and you know, all that shit began. There's also the same guy, the Heroes of the Tristram Guild or whatever leader, that David guy or whatever. What's his name again? That nigga David.
He said it again.
Who's telling a completely different story from Xtimus. At the end of the day, I don't know, so I'm not going to comment on this.
You could see it when I've talked to him when I've talked to Dabrowski on the stream. He doesn't talk about this anymore. He won't talk about it because he's banned me because he's scared or whatever.
He's not scared
or whatever.
Once again, I've said this earlier in the video. I've seen what happens when Xtimus comes to Dabrowski's Discord. I've seen what happens when Xtimus comes to Dabrowski's stream. He just talks massive shit there, demands, you know, answers, accuses Dabrowski of whatever stuff, and it's not a nice kind of way, you know. It's not in the way of, come on, Dabrowski, I just need an answer, I need some closure. No, it's holy shit, dude, you stole this from me, I need, you know, explain yourself. It's demanding, it's condescending. My English vocabulary doesn't have enough adjectives to describe this, but you probably get the point.
He collaborates with Llama because Llama and Dabrowski.
I just wanted to stop this right here because I fucking love how he pronounces the word llama. Like, honestly, no satire here, no sarcasm here. I really love the way he pronounces it.
Steal everything from everybody. That's why when like that shit went down with Ryu, you guys know Ryu, Diablo 2 streamer, he's bigger than Llama. He stole tons of things from Ryu, man. Man for stream, like that's Ryu's clout, dude. Llama went and used Ryu's song. It's Ryu's song. He produced it. It's his freaking song. And you go and you charge $15, $20 a spin of that song?
Yeah, so if Mr. Llama actually took Ryu's song, and I think he did, I'm just not 100% sure, then yeah, that's a serious allegation, and Mr. Llama, I mean, he simply cannot do that. Now, for Man vs. Stream, it's a completely different story. Once again, I have to ask this question. Was this, you know, something illegal? No. Man vs. Stream is a very simple concept. One of which, you know, have crossed my head a number of times even before I've seen Mr. Llama's Man vs. Stream. It's a very simple concept. Is it a douchebaggy move to pretty much copy the essence from a content creator in the same niche? Yes, it is. I do not know, I have not checked Ryu's Man vs. Streams or whatever they're called, how similar they are. But most likely if Ryu started it first and Mr. Llama then started doing it later, then he probably copied it from Ryu's with a different twist. So was it douchebaggy? Yes. Was it illegal? No. And at that point, you just have to ask, you know, what other options Mr. Llama has? If he really wants to create that kind of content, the best he can do is go and ask Ryu's permission. If Ryu doesn't give him permission, I've been in kind of in the same position a couple of times with Dabrowski. You know, Dabrowski and me, we're completely polar opposites. He's a very nice guy for one, and he doesn't want to cross the line. I pretty much thrive on crossing the line all the fucking time. So I wanted to use his face in my thumbnail, and he would not allow me.
What?
I asked him, you know, can I use your face? He said, well, it depends on how you use it. I showed him, he said, no, please, guy, dude, come on, don't use it. Out of respect for him, of course, I didn't use it. I then recreated that thumbnail or whatever. I presented it in a different way. Then he again said, no, you cannot use it. And I did a third way, a fourth way, and eventually he did agree. My point is, legally, I could have used his face from the very beginning. I do not need his permission. It's just kind of whether I want to be a douchebag with him or not. What kind of relationship I want to have with him. And of course, having all the respect that I have for Dabrowski, my intention all the way was, you know, if he doesn't let me use his face in that specific thumbnail, and I'm talking about the Griffin's Fine video, if you don't know what I mean, you know, in the red. It was literally my logo combined with Dabrowski's face. I found it hilarious.
It was.
So my intention all the way was, if he won't allow me to use his face, I will not, just because I don't want to fuck up my relationship. With that said, legally, I could have done it all the way, you know, all along.
I started doing 100 runs of like Mephisto runs. You know, 100 runs. Got a ton of views. So I'm like, you know, I'm not having fun doing this. I'm going to do other types of content. And I saw a DJ doing like 100 boss runs and things like that. And he's like, hey man, I just want to let you know that DJ was respectful in that way.
I can second that, because when I released my 1000 pit runs video, like the very next day, DG Waters reached out to me, hey man, I'm doing 1000 pit runs video as well, hope you won't mind. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing these runs for the past like 4 months. I know how much time it takes to do them. I don't give a shit. I wouldn't even, like, even if you release it the very next day, I would not think for a second that you stole my idea. Plus, there's only so much content you can make in Diablo 2. I've been called out actually a couple of times just because it just so happened, I remember when I was making like Diablo 2 guides constantly, Mr. Lama started doing his, for a brief time, for like a month, he did those Pro Thursdays, Newbie Tuesdays, and then Monday Holy Grail or whatever. And he created like a class guide video. Then like 3 days later, my video was scheduled to be published. Then he did a Chaos Sanctuary Diablo clone trick. I had already a video uploaded, waiting 4 more days for it to be published. Because, you know, normal YouTubers have videos uploaded in advance and just waiting for them to be published, which no longer is happening in my case. I just don't fucking have the time. But my point is, those videos take a lot of time to create, and there's only so much content you can make in Diablo 2, so this is kind of bullshit, you know, stealing ideas from one another. I have so many problems, and content ideas is not one of them.
But Dabrowski, he took it to another level of just insanity, dude. It's just 100 runs, man. It was totally fine being 100 runs. And then you start doing crazy stuff like 10,000 Mephisto runs. You do 10... Who does 10,000 Mephisto runs, dude?
Why?
Let me tell you who does 10,000 Mephisto runs. Nobody. That's why Dabrowski is growing like fucking crazy. Because he was the guy who did 10,000 runs when everyone else was only thinking about 100 runs. He did 10,000 runs of Mephisto. He did 10,000 runs of Lower Crest. He did 1,000, I don't know, Ancient Tunnels or whatever. Those are fucking massive numbers. It was something unique, and it attracted a lot of new audience. That's why he grew so much at the start. That coupled with the fact that he's a naturally very likable guy. He's like, he's one of the most likable guys I know. As much as, you know, even if I tried my hardest, I couldn't say a thing, you know, I don't like about him. There's a couple of things I don't agree with him. I still like him. So, whatever the point Xtimus is trying to make here, I do not understand it. Just because somebody did it in a different way than you did, potentially, and from the results we're seeing, in a better way as well, why would you even, call it?
You know, like with the oh my god drops, like, oh my god, the high rune dropped. I'm the one that started doing that. And you can look at the thumbnails in the damn folder in the link that I'm going to show you guys. It's just the identical, almost the same thumbnail, man.
Yeah, so the first problem is very obvious. He's claiming that the oh my god thumbnails, which are something that he invented, which is just complete nonsense. I don't even need to explain that. The other thing is the identical thumbnails, which I also believe not to be the case, because there's some similarities, but they dwell from different reasons, I suppose. One of them is they're both using very Diablo-ish colors, which naturally make both of their thumbnails very similar. And second of all, they're very limited in terms of what kind of fan art they can use, because the fan art of Diablo 2, the good one, that actually high quality, high resolution one, is extremely limited. Trust me, I tried Googling all over the place for my videos. It's very limited. So they don't have much of a pool to choose from. That's why their thumbnails are very similar. In terms of ideas how they use their thumbnails, they're not unique. Neither Xtimus is unique, neither Dobrunsky's. They're both, I'm not saying they're bad thumbnails, I'm just saying they're not unique. It's just essentially slapping like three things that have something to do with that video into a thumbnail, and that's it. There's no uniqueness. There's like, they don't have a certain style how they do it. Xtimus has his font, but font alone, when you're making it of different colors in different places, that's kind of, for me personally, it's not enough to call it unique. This is a very thin line I'm currently describing, so feel free to take this with a grain of salt.
The font that I use for my logo and that I've been using for my videos for years since I started, he started using the same font in my logo, in his logo, and on his thumbnails and in his videos. Now I understand that it's a free font and everyone can use it and it's whatever. The point is, we're a very small community. There's what, like 10 of us? And
well, there's one funny guy and there's a bunch of others, obviously. I mean myself.
You're gonna go and use the same exact font I use in my logos? So you could try and get my clout to go to your channel? You're making my channel look like yours.
So funny.
Yeah, so if anything was the reason why Dobrunsky used this font, and I do have to say, I do not know the reason why Dobrunsky used that font. But my guess is that if there was a reason why he used it, it was not to get subscribers to come over from Xtimus. That's like the least of his worries. With that said, Xtimus does have a legit point, but then he twists it in a silly kind of way. The legit point that Xtimus has is, yes, Dobrunsky 100% knew that Xtimus is using that font.
Hold on.
So if Dabrowski really liked that font and he thought, you know, this is such a cool font, I want to use it as well, what is he supposed to do? He can go to Xtimus and tell him that fact, but I feel it would be hypocritical. You know, Xtimus is not the one who owns that font, and Xtimus admitted to that himself. It's a free-to-use font. At that point, what, Xtimus, you know, Dabrowski is supposed to go to the font creator and ask if he's allowed to use that, but it's free-to-use font. So, legally speaking, you know, Dabrowski can do whatever the fuck he wants. Is it douchebaggy move to do that? Absolutely, 100%.
What?
You know, it's a small community. Everyone will notice that. It's a douchebaggy move, hands down. Especially when we're talking about a very unique kind of font. That's, as Xtimus said, it has been part of his identity for years. So I feel like for Dabrowski, the moment he started liking that font, he just really had no good options. He can either go to Xtimus and ask if he could use that font, but that's hypocritical, or he can just use it and then Xtimus will feel hurt. Just feel, I don't know, like he was stolen from, which is also kind of bullshit. So yeah, well, was it, you know, completely legal? Yes. Was it a douchebag kind of move? Also yes. Then there's another possibility that Dabrowski just simply wanted to piss Xtimus off. That's why he used that. But I think Dabrowski is too nice of a guy to actually pull that off.
It hurts, man. It hurts so bad. Because I've done everything in my power to let things go or to...
This is where I'm going to stop this video because, like I mentioned, a couple of days ago when I initially watched this video, I came back home in the evening and I spent like 3 hours reacting to this video. I was also drinking beer. I got pretty fucking drunk. And I was, you know, pretty energetic about it, just bashing left and right, waving my hands and all of that, being all emotional, calling Xtimus delusion and all that shit. But the morning after I woke up, and those were the words that I remembered. It hurts, man. It really hurts. And I fucking feel sorry for that guy. I'm not a nice guy. I can honestly bash a guy for like 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, whatever I've been recording here. And then at the end of the video, I can honestly tell you that I did all of that while still feeling sorry for him. I don't know, that's just who I am. So...
What's your point?
I don't know, I don't have a good way of finishing this video.
Wow! Come on!
I hope this never happens again.
How are you gonna fence it like that?
As much as I enjoy the drama, I don't think it's healthy for anyone involved. Not the viewers, not the Xtimus, not for myself. And...
Wait, that's bullshit. What are you talking about?
I honestly hope Xtimus gets better.
Man, that's super anticlimactic. That's super anticlimactic. Where the fuck is the goddamn thing? Are you fucking serial? You fucking serial? That's how you leave it? Man. That... Man. Let's get some music.
Good day. You're too late.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This fool had a whole point system. What happened to that? What happened to that?
Giggling at and you know, laughing my ass off at those teleportings. Basically the end of the high.
You had a whole thing.
Then Mr. Lama copied a Javazon build from Xtimus. Then Dabrowski backed some sort of guy. Then Dabrowski stole the font. Then Xtimus admitted to stealing what was it? The thumbnails from Dabrowski. Then DG Waters was the guy that sucked to everyone up. Then all of the screenshots and like, I just have a lot of notes over here. And I actually had some. Can you fucking see it? You can probably see it. I even scored points while I was watching that video. So Xtimus at some point was actually up 3 points when I had only one. But I only had 1 point and then others only had 1 point. But by the end of the video, Xtimus was down 3.5 points anyway.
See, that's what I wanted to see. The whole reason I watched the stupid video is because I wanted to see the point system, man. One of those. Come on. Well, whatever.